Hi guys. I hope I don't look terrible today. I'm actually having a no makeup day because my contact lenses are giving me all kinds of problems. So, um, if I look terrible, then maybe just like lie to me or something. That would be great. Okay, so anyways, for those of you who don't know who I am, in real life, my name is Crystal. I'm the real Christina from the Crank Book series. They were based on my life. Ellen Hopkins is my mother. And I've been kind of telling my story from the beginning and all the way until the present. And then I also posted some of my vacation pictures and whatnot too, just so you could see what I'm doing now. Um, Today I want to talk about something that is actually very near and dear to my heart, which is autism awareness. Mostly because my youngest is autistic. He's about midway through the spectrum. So we do have a lot of kind of issues that we deal with and that we're still dealing with, and we're doing our best to work through them. But it does get you thinking, and it does get you kind of wanting to reach out to people and just kind of see what their take on the matter is. Um, so honestly, I think that I possibly could have some form of autism that I've kind of maybe grown out of, which happens a lot. Just because if you look back on your own life, back when I was a kid, autism wasn't a thing. They didn't even really know how to pinpoint it or even really what it was at that point. And I was a child that I was reading and drawing pictures. I won an art contest when I was, I think, 2.5 years old that my grandmother entered me in for the newspaper. Um, but I always had a problem communicating with other kids, finding the right words to speak to people, which is why I was so interested in reading and learning words, and why I have such a large vocabulary, which I don't use a lot here because I don't want to seem pretentious or like I'm being a snuff-nosed moron at people. I'm not. I don't use big words to show off. It's just something that they're in my mind, they're in my head because I've read thousands of books for pleasure, and things kind of stay with you. I mean, that's a good reason to just read for fun. You learn things and you don't even realize it, and it's kind of cool. But when I was young, I used to, when I get angry because I couldn't communicate with people properly, I would run up and bite people on the butt, always on the butt, breaking the skin, like terrible bites on people. Um, I had serious anger issues growing up. I would be completely calm one moment and then um, end up screaming angry at people and not even being able to really know why sometimes. And although I do believe that if I do have it or did have it, or I was very low on the spectrum, I do believe that maybe it started to manifest itself in me as a child. Um, Now, as most of you guys also already know, I have 7 children, and one of my adult children actually has been diagnosed with Asperger's disease. Not disease, sorry, it's not a disease, it's a syndrome. I apologize about that. It's absolutely not a disease. Asperger's syndrome, which is kind of a form of autism as well. But she has 2 children of her own, and she's doing well, coping with it, and dealing with life, as it were. And then my 16-year-old son was diagnosed with ODD when he was young. We had him tested for autism because of some of his behaviors, but ODD is basically he has I can't remember something defiance disorder, which he has a tough time dealing with someone telling him what to do. And they react in anger and outbursts and whatnot. So he had his own issues. He was actually RPC'd, which means sent home until a parent-teacher conference is had, from kindergarten 9 times. He had a few issues, which he still has a few of them. They're ingrained there, but he has grown through most of them. He's going to graduate this year, and he's doing much, much better. So that's a good thing, at least. But my youngest, when he was a baby, he was developing normally at first. So that whole adage or the theory that maybe vaccines or vaccines too close together might have something to do with the onset of autism, might have some truth in it. I'm not sure, because with the rest of my children, I either had a family friend watching them, or I was off work watching them, and they weren't in daycare. And Kason Chaos is his actual name. He was in daycare from the time he was a small infant. And so the daycare was very adherent to those vaccine schedules. You had to get them on time. You had to get, even if they like backed or stacked on top of each other, they all had to be done by certain dates. And so he was the only kid that was like strictly adherent to those schedules. All my kids have been vaccinated, of course, but on my own time. And I think that may have had something to do with that. I don't know. It's entirely possible, because he was regularly learning words and developing normally. And then at about 2 or so, he started developing anger issues, and some of the words that he knew before, he seemed to be forgetting. And because of that terrible relationship with my ex-husband that I was with, he refused to acknowledge that there may be something wrong and that needed to be addressed. He wanted to believe that everything was normal. And so he flat out refused. I mean, like, we got in big, huge fights about it, refused to seek out help for him. And it just continued to get worse. To the point where he was about 3.5, 4 years old before he would even try to potty train. I had him peeing in the potty all day long, but not pooping yet. And then my ex decided to get fired from his job. So I pulled the baby out of daycare, and I'm like, well, then you're going to watch him. You're going to do something, because I'm tired of you getting fired. And if I have to do everything, you're going to do something. And he was so uninvolved with Kason's development that he put him back in diapers, and just he opted to let him roam around in diapers and change him rather than work with him on the potty. And so as a result, Kason was, I think, 5.5 by the time we managed to end that relationship and get out of there. And when I went to Missouri, Millie, my best friend, she and her husband Koa, they helped me kind of boot camp Kason a little bit, and get him through the potty training. I mean, he potty trained in a week with her help, because again, he already knew this stuff. It's just that Dillhole McGee refused to work with him and refused to do anything, and my hands were tied because I had to work to keep us alive, and it was just a frustrating time. And then adding to all of this, with him outbursting and screaming all the time, my ex, and hitting me and choking me out in front of Kason, I believe that also inhibited his development a lot, and he does have some PTSD type of symptoms as well, and as do I. The weirdest things make me like shrink and worry and stuff because of it. I know that these things will heal, but it all takes time. But now I have a very precocious 7-year-old whose vocabulary is very limited. He has been diagnosed with autism because we have put him into the school system, thank God. And he was in a school here for a few months, for the first part of the year. That was his teacher, Miss McClure, was amazing. She's a beautiful, beautiful person. She loves all her kids so much, and Kason really bonded with her. So moving him schools was very worrisome and very stressful, but she had got him to the point where he had gotten used to being around other people so much that he really fell into the new school. Now, the reason we moved him schools is because his new school has an autism program. So his class only has 4 or 5 children in it. There is literally 3 or 4 teachers' aides besides the teacher, and they work with him closely on this stuff, and they're helping him grow and develop and learn to use his voice and learn to communicate better, which is amazing. But for those of you who deal with autism with your children or a family member, I know it must be very frustrating and very, very challenging, but it is also so rewarding. And there's a beauty about these kids that is, it shines beyond what a regular child has, because they have this kind of scary intelligence about them. And so watching what they can do as opposed to paying attention to what their limitations are is kind of a beautiful thing. And um, it's difficult as well, though. I mean, he's very, very smart. He, instead of trying to communicate, though, he gets frustrated and angry, so he outbursts a lot, he yells a lot. And although he doesn't understand some, there's still some he needs to understand or needs to learn, especially about parental instruction. So we'll just call it that, because he doesn't like to listen. And he wants to just do everything for himself. He gets an idea in his head and he will stick with it until he figures out if it's going to work or not. And it's admirable, but it's also frustrating. And I know there's those of you out there who are who get frustrated as well, or get overwhelmed. And so I just kind of want to tell you, just no matter how hard it is, I know try to cling on to those beautiful things that you discover. Like, for instance, he can do puzzles that you would never expect him to do. We just actually, Cash just bought him a 100-piece to see if he could do it, and he wouldn't let me help him, and he was slapping my hands away. He wanted me to sit there with him, but he did the whole thing by himself. And it was kind of amazing to watch how his mind works. Just watch an autistic child do a puzzle, and it's the coolest. He can look in the pile of pieces and pick one out from the center and put it right where he's expecting it to be, and it's a crazy thing to watch. And you know, I think the hardest part is the people that you encounter out in the world, is because most of them don't understand what autism means, or what autism is, or what the child goes through, or what the child is capable of and is not capable of. And it makes communication with the world a little bit difficult. People try to speak to him, but he sometimes answers in maybe 3 to 4 word sentences. Is what we've gotten up to with school and whatnot. But in public settings, he doesn't speak a lot, and people will be talking to him, and he's looking right at them or looking away because he's feeling overwhelmed, and he's not communicating back with them. And people tend to get offended about that, and having to say, well, he's autistic. And it's just like, it makes me feel like I'm sitting there making excuses for him that I maybe shouldn't have to make. But even when you say it, they still look at you crazy, like, okay. And then they continue to talk to him, but they're not understanding what I'm saying, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And it does get frustrating, and it gets overwhelming, and it gets to be a little much sometimes. But it's also teaching me to be a stronger person, and to learn to appreciate some of the little things in life, to learn to appreciate when he does tiny, beautiful things, and praise him for it, so that he continues to do them. But I do wish that more of the world would be kind of more aware that, if someone does say a child is autistic, maybe they're going to be a little bit different than a regular child that you're used to being around, and maybe just see what they do instead of trying to push them to things that they can't do, and you'll be able to see their beauty as well. And again, that's something that is difficult for somebody who hasn't dealt with it directly to understand or grasp. Maybe some of you think your child might have autism, but you're not sure, or you're scared to get them tested. Don't be afraid. It opens up kind of different doors in your life, but the earlier you know, the earlier you can help them, and you will find programs that will help them, and you will understand, and you'll see that they have beautiful things inside of them, and with the right people to help them unlock them. And the earlier that you get that done, the more development you're going to see, and the more progress you're going to see. Okay, so don't be scared. Even if the thought that my child might be autistic scares you or worries you, just try not to be afraid. Okay, it is a wonderful thing at the same time. You get to see things that nobody else gets to see. You get to experience different joys, different pleasures over little stuff, and it makes you appreciate the world, and it makes you appreciate life, and it makes you appreciate your child that much more. Okay? All right, that's all I got for today. For those of you who are new viewers, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. Watch my videos from the beginning. I do tell my entire story in order. So if you back all the way up to the front of the channel, you can see them. The story is laid out in a row so that it all makes sense. I probably should have done more introductions on some of the videos, but I was nervous, and so I'm trying to get some of the newer ones out there with proper introductions so that you do get a chance, if you're interested in my real story, to start from the beginning and follow me on the journey. Okay, I appreciate all the likes if you guys like this video. Again, it does change the algorithm and it gets us out there more. I'm trying to get as many, kind of followers out there so that I can finish writing my book and get it promoted properly. So that, with my book, I go into every single little minute terrible thing inside of me, more than I'm able to say in public, more than I'm able to admit to people in general. So I really think if you guys do enjoy my story, you will really, really like my book. So I'd like to get that out there and get a chance to actually get people to see it. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Again, if you guys have any ideas, things that you want me to talk about, at this point, I'm just waiting until I get inspired and then making a video. So I will be inspired more when I'm a little less busy too. I've been kind of running with it like a chicken with my head cut off lately, but we're getting it done. Okay. All right, guys, I'm open for all suggestions, possibilities, comments. I will see you guys soon, all right? Thanks.